wake windows. I think wake windows may be creating more anxiety around baby sleep than they solve. With my first baby, I followed wake windows religiously. I tracked the minutes, I watched the clock. I tried to put her down exactly when the chart said I should, and I would spend 30 minutes, sometimes an hour, fighting for a nap that just wasn't happening. With my second baby, I did almost the opposite. I watch him. If I think he might be tired, I offer a nap. If he doesn't go to sleep, I stop. I don't fight it. I try again a little later. And what's interesting is that his wake windows are almost always longer than what's recommended, and he does really well. That contrast is what made me want to understand what wake windows actually are, where they come from, and why they help some babies but seem to make other families miserable. Wake windows are often presented as rules, almost like something you can execute correctly, and when they don't work, it can feel like you are the problem, or your baby is the problem. What I noticed with my first baby wasn't just that wake windows didn't always work. It was how much stress they created. I wasn't watching my baby anymore. I was watching the clock. And that turned something very normal, infant sleep variability, into a constant stress test. I think wake windows make more sense if you think about them the same way that pediatricians think about weight and height charts. Growth charts are built from population data, large numbers of babies measured over time. They show distributions, not ideals. A baby at the 10th percentile and a baby at the 90th percentile can both be completely normal, but when you walk into the doctor's office and you see how far your baby is from the average, it can still freak you out unnecessarily, even when nothing is actually wrong. Wake windows work the same way. They're based on averages, not what on every individual baby should be able to do on demand. Most wake window charts are based on observational infant sleep research. That includes things like parent sleep diaries, movement tracking called actigraphy, and large cohort studies looking at how long babies tend to sleep and stay awake at different ages. These studies are useful. They help us understand broad patterns, but they answer a very specific question. What do babies tend to do across a population? They are not designed to answer, what should my baby be able to do today at 10:47 in the morning? When those averages get turned into charts and checklists, a lot of nuance disappears, and that's where the stress creeps in. Here's the part that often gets left out. Wake windows implicitly assume a very simple sleep model. The longer a baby is awake, the more tired they get, until sleep happens. And to be fair, time awake does matter. Babies build sleep pressure the longer they're awake. But sleep readiness in babies isn't controlled by just one system. There are at least 3 things interacting at the same time. 1, sleep pressure, how long they've been awake. 2, circadian rhythm, which is very immature in infancy. And 3, arousal and stress regulation. Arousal is basically how revved up the nervous system is. Stress hormones like cortisol increase arousal. They make sleep harder. And in babies, that stress regulation system is still developing. So here's where wake windows start to break down. A baby can be awake for a relatively long time and still fall asleep easily if they're calm and regulated. Another baby can be awake for the same or shorter amount of time and struggle to sleep because they're overstimulated, hungry, frustrated, or just dysregulated. That means that time awake doesn't predict sleep readiness by itself. Arousal state can override the clock. Wake window charts only track one variable, time awake. They don't account for regulation, temperament, feeding, movement, or what's happening developmentally that week. So, when a baby routinely falls outside of the recommended range, that's often just biology, not a problem. Variability is not a pathology. This also explains why nap battles happen. If a baby becomes dysregulated, stress hormones go up, sleep becomes harder. So, fighting a nap for 40 minutes doesn't mean your baby isn't tired. It often means their nervous system isn't ready to downshift yet. And sometimes what helps isn't a shorter wake window, it's just more regulation. Here's how I think about wake windows now. They work best as a loose reference, not a rule book. If wake windows help you feel calmer and more confident, you can absolutely use them. If they make you anxious, lead to constant nap battles, or make you feel like you're failing, scrap them. Watch your baby. Offer sleep when it seems appropriate. If it doesn't happen, you're allowed to stop and try again later. I think we often forget that our babies are little humans. We wouldn't expect an adult to always be able to sleep just because we technically should. Babies are developing new skills constantly. Their brains are changing. Sometimes they're just interested in the world around them, and sometimes they're just not ready yet. And that's okay. So if your baby's wake windows don't line up with the chart, that doesn't automatically mean something is wrong. It often just means your baby isn't average. And average was never the goal. You're not doing less. You're just responding to the baby in front of you. And that's usually a pretty good place to start.